હિના મેડમ, હું તમને હોસ્ટ બનાવી રહ્યો છું. આઈ વિલ બી લિવિંગ.
Purav sir, we are live now. Dr. Purav sir, you can begin. We are live now.
Fine. Good afternoon, one and all. Hanummanian greetings to all. This is Dr. Purav Desai, Dean, Faculty of Homeopathy, Parul University, and Principal of Jawaharlal Nehru Homeopathic Medical College. Dear all, with the prevalent situation of COVID-19, we have adopted a digitalization. Probably our Parul University is the first who have conducted the university exam also on the digital mode. This is all because of the dynamic leadership of our President, Dr. Devanshu Patel sir, and various notable officials of Parul University. We have secured the front position in university ranking, and I'm glad to share you that as per ARIAA, that is Atal Ranking of Institutions on Innovation Achievements, Parul University stood in 25th to 50th rank through, though we are the youngest university among all. The vibrant environment always motivates us to move ahead, and the spirit of moving forward is also contributed by our director of Paramedical Institute, Dr. Komal Patel Madam. At Parul University, there are more than 16 diverse faculties, and all are regularly conducting the webinars by the distinguished personality of their respective fields. The Faculty of Homeopathy is equally active in this drive, and I'm glad to share that till today we could organize 7 successful webinars, and now coming to you with the 8th one. Let me introduce you today's speaker, Dr. Subhash Singh sir. Today among us, Dr. Subhash Singh ji. He is a director of National Institute of Homeopathy, Calcutta. He has completed his BHMS from Calcutta Homeopathic Medical College in the year 1994. Then he did his MD in 2000 through SK Homeopathic Medical College, Bede. He completed his PhD from MUHS, that is Maharashtra University of Health Sciences, in 2018. If we consider, there are notable things about our speaker. He is the author of so many books. Let me announce this name of this book: Mind, a Simplified Study, Doctor-Patient Relationship, The Concept, The Carcinosin, Samuel Hahnemann's Organon of Medicine, a study in its history of evaluation, textbook of an introduction of the study of homeopathic materia medica, textbook of homeopathic materia medica, volume 1, corrected, retranslated, and redictated edition of the 6th and 5th edition of Hahnemann's Organon of Medicines, questions of Organon of Medicines, first edition of Organon of Medicine by Samuel Hahnemann, further help to the study of Alan Skinot. So there are so many contribution of Subhash Singh sir in the field of homeopathy. He is publishers of 50 published items, and he has presented so many presentations on national and international platform. So we will not waste much of the time in introducing him, but I request him to come to the point of today's session. So I'm handing my mic to Subhash Singh Sarji to start today's session. Sarji, please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Purav Desai. Namaskar to all of you. Dr. Hina Rawal, Dr. Purav Desai, and all the officials who are here. And I'm sure the faculty members and students are also attached to this webinar. It is an honor for me to be joining here and share my views. Before I start, I'll just like to say that my personal attachment to Dr. Patel's family has been long. I used to know Dr. J.K. Patel very closely, as he was a very close friend of my father, Dr. Mahendra Singh. And my heartfelt condolences to the family members for his passing away, untimely demise. We all share the sorrow with the family. And it is a pleasure to know that the offspring of Dr. J.K. Patel are carrying forward his work and have taken it to such a wonderful height that now Parul University has become a very known name. And especially thanks to them, because they have kept the homeopathic flag flying very high. The homeopathic colleges attached with Parul University, those were started by Dr. J.K. Patel, they are doing so good. So it always gives me pleasure to know it. Today's topic, as we all know, it has been announced earlier, is the cause of disease. Is it the slide is now visible?
No, sir.
No, just a moment. Now it is visible, I think.
Yes. Yes, sir. It is visible. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So the topic today is the concept, the homeopathic concept of cause of disease, which is a very vital topic, especially because when we give a homeopathic medicine, or when we go through the process of selecting a homeopathic medicine, then this process includes trying to find what is the cause of the disease. And before that, it is very important that we should know what is the exact value that we have to give the cause of the disease. How to assess the cause of the disease. What are the methods of the assessing of cause of disease? And most importantly, in homeopathy, what are the different types of cause of the diseases? So let us start one by one. And the cause is partly responsible for the effect, and the effect is partly dependent on the cause. Well, see, there is a cause and effect relationship in medical science and in physics as well. This cause and effect relationship has to be understood, that sometimes the cause is equally and almost opposite way it is depicted in the effect. We remember the Newton's third law. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So if action is the cause, then the reaction or the effect that it produces is equal and effect. Well, that goes very well as far as physics is concerned. But it may not be truly effective or truly reproducible in every case of human body and in medical science. Because in every time when we get a cause, we do not get an opposite reaction or opposite effect. There is a linear and non-linear relationship between the cause and effect that one has to understand. So for cause is partly responsible for the effect, that every effect that is produced, there is some cause, and that is responsible for producing that effect. And effect is always dependent on cause. This is also a fact. There are two things one we have to know. Homeopathy has been many a time criticized by people who says that homeopathy is nothing else but the placebo effect. homeopathic medicine do not have any medicinal value, they say. And they say that only because the patient is pleased, placebo means to please. So they are pleased to take the medicine, and this pleasant feeling produces some desirable effect, and that sometimes removes and reduces the disease or complaint. That is the placebo effect. And then there is a nocebo effect. Placebo is the positive, because here the patient, after taking the medicine, is producing positive effect. And then there is a negative effect, that is the nocebo effect, because many a time we hear that this is a medicine. Suppose, for example, in any medicine about which we know that this medicine is very harmful, this medicine is going to produce very harmful effect. And then when we are given that medicine, so before actually taking the medicine, we already have a negative mentality to that particular medicine. And that sometimes produces nocebo or negative effect. Diseases may be considered as different from each other only in the degree and the varieties they represent may be attributed to different seat of morbid action and different function consequently involved by it. So different effect that it is producing, that is somewhat relative, somewhat dependent on what is the organ that is involved, what is the system that is involved, and where that is located. All these are responsible for the symptoms that it is producing. In homeopathic parlance, in homeopathic books, especially, I will concentrate in today's lecture only with the terminology used by Hahnemann. Later on, his followers, other stalwarts and writers, and many of the modern day writers, they have used many terms. But we will not go in there. We will limit ourselves only to what are the terminology Hahnemann has used and what is the concept of cause that Hahnemann has said through it. We will be taking one by one these terms. So automatically when we discuss these terms, the things will be clear and Hahnemann's concept will be clear. Let us start with prima, causa, morbi. As you can understand from the word itself, the phrase itself, the prima causa morbi means primary cause, morbi means disease, so primary cause of disease. Now, apparently it looks that this is a concept which is very much agreeable to homeopathy. Prima causa morbi, primary cause of disease, and in homeopathy also we say that there is a primary cause. But the question is not that. The question is how this term prima causa morbi is used. The way it was used was very much criticized by Hahnemann, because it was not meant to use any dynamic cause, but it was meant to use that for every disease there is a primary cause. For every disease there is an initiating cause, first cause, fundamental cause, primary cause, which is responsible for the disease. And when the person comes to us as a patient, then it is our responsibility, it is our duty to first find out what is that primary cause. And once we find that primary cause, then it is to be removed through operation, through different medications. So that cause is something which is material in nature. That is why in homeopathy, we do not agree with this concept of prima causa morbi. This was a term, this was a concept which was used by the then system of medicine who were practicing at that time. Another fallacy that the proximate cause, which is assumed to be always there, has to be removed first. Proximate means the primary cause, tolle causam, to effect a cure, as is refuted by Hahnemann in the note to aphorism 6 of first edition, not the 6th or 5th, first edition. He says, a thing or a state requires a proximate cause only in order to be produced. But once it is there, It needs no longer for its existence and exciting a first or proximate cause. See, many times we have been criticized that Organon of Medicine, the main or guiding book of homeopathy, has been written more than 200 years ago. And why after so many years, still we are following such an old book? Why we have not changed? I don't know what others think, but my thinking is very simple. We do not change. We have not changed because we have not felt the need to change. Organon was written long time back. It was written on logic. It was based on natural phenomena, and the same logic stands today. The same natural phenomena still occurs today, so there is no need to change. For example, I will illustrate through this cause and effect that Hahnemann has said. He's saying that, for example, for any thing, for example, this is a football, and I am rolling a football. So in order that the football is rolled, the initial push is required, which may be the cause, and the effect that is produced is the rolling of the football. So when the ball is rolling, the effect is produced, then will it be logical to try to find that the cause or initial push is there or not? When a ball is rolling, will it be wise to try to find my hand which has pushed it? If not, then equally, if we draw an analogy in the disease case, suppose a factor or a causation has caused the disease, and then after suffering for some time, the patient has come to us. Then, when the patient has come at that phase or that stage, will it be wise to try to find the initial cause which has produced that disease? This prima causa morbi concept was trying to find that cause after the effect is produced. That is why it was wrong. That is why Hahnemann has criticized it. And that logic still stands true. That is why we don't feel there is any need to change this concept. There is no need to change anything in organ. Thus then, the disease, once it is produced, those of us who are a bit serious in studies, to study Organon, for them I will suggest in Organon book, in the end of it you will find an appendix. And there in the appendix, you will find that there is a big note of first edition aphorism 6. That note wonderfully explains the cause and effect relationship. What is the Hahnemann's concept? What is the homeopathic concept? He has given an example of the bullet. Suppose the bullet is fired. The bullet goes. Then the factor which has fired initially, that may not be there when the bullet is moving ahead. Similarly, I have given the example of football. So that is one should refer to. Thus then, the disease, once it is produced, continues independently of its proximate producing cause and needs the latter no longer for its maintenance. On the other hand, Hahnemann says for the first time again that it requires always at least two causes for production of disease. For every disease, there are to be two causes. One, the primary cause or exogenous. Exogenous, coming from out. And secondary cause or the accessory cause, an endogenous one, which without the help of which the primary cause of itself cannot produce a disease condition. The inner cause that has to produce a favorable atmosphere, a favorable condition for the exogenous cause to act. This is very important, that the secondary cause or the endogenous cause is paving the way for the primary cause to act. Stuart Close has illustrated it wonderfully. He says the primary cause of tuberculosis is tuberculous bacilli. In homeopathy, many a time there is a confusion that what is our stance regarding this microbiology, parasitology, and etc. See, we do not deny the existence of microbes, parasites, bacteria, viruses. Neither do we deny that they have a role to play in causation of disease. But what we do deny is two factors. One, that they are the solely responsible for causation of disease. Number two, a medicine can be selected on the basis of these. These are the two factors where one has to be very clear. In Stuart Close language, the primary cause of tuberculosis is tubercular bacilli. But the necessary condition for secondary cause of the action of bacillus are peculiar bodily constitution. This has to be there. This has to be the peculiar bodily constitution, the predisposition, susceptibility, environment of the patient. This has to be there, because unless these are there, the secondary cause, these pave the way for the Mycobacterium tuberculosis to act. So both are important, both are responsible. There is another phase, tolle causum, means remove the cause. Apparently, it looks very nice. What is the harm in removing the cause? Once the cause is removed, the person will be free. And then if any symptoms remain, then one can tackle it. But the problem is not this. The problem is the thinking behind using the term tolle causum. The thinking is that there is a material cause which has to be removed. Not remove the cause only, but the material cause has to be removed. The old school of medicine believed it might cure the disease in a direct manner by removal of the imaginary material cause of the disease. If you ever get a chance to read the introduction part of a very famous play by George Bernard Shaw, Doctor's Dilemma, there you can find that how a doctor has put himself in such a position and given a concept to everybody that there is a poison sac in the body and that poison sac has to be removed. And unless you remove that poison sac, you are not free, you are not healthy. This is only an example in literature. But there are so many examples where the people used to think that this is the tolle causum. For example, the body, the blood is more. I have red face, I have high temperature. That means that there is more blood in my body than it is required. So that more blood is the cause, and the tolle causum means remove that more blood, and that can be removed by venesection, cupping, etc. So you can understand that when this is the concept of tolle causum, how harmful it is and how much homeopathy is against it. It is impossible to know all the antecedent causative of disease consequence. Hence, Hahnemann saw first time in all history remove the effect, cesset effectus, cesset causa. Homeopathy do not rely on this cause. Homeopathy relies on the effect that it produces. The medicines are selected not on the basis of the cause, but medicines are selected on the basis of the effect that it produces, because ultimately the cause is dynamic in nature. You cannot select on the medicine. That is, Hahnemann has said that it may remain hidden, unknown, and it has little relevance in treating the person. So, cesset effectus, the cause if is removed, then the effect will automatically be removed. Before that, the people used to think the opposite, cesset effectus and cesset causes, cesset effectus. There is another term related to the concept of cause in homeopathy, that is MATERIA peccans. MATERIA peccans means the morbific matter, some material thing which has to be removed. Materia peccans in Organ of Medicine, you will find it in aphorism, footnote to aphorism 13. It is given, and it is given with an exclamation mark. That when there is a dynamic cause, immaterial cause, then if we try to find or treat or remove the material cause, how wrong one can be. So ordinary school thought this must be expelled from the blood vessels and lymphatic through the different crude medicine and crude methodology that was used, through exhalent, skin, urinary apparatus, or salivary glands, through the tracheal, bronchial gland. These are just examples. At that time, if people were suffering from any problem, then a medicine was given that will produce huge sweating. The cause was supposed to be go out, the toxic effect was supposed to go out through the sweat. Or a medicine was given which will produce what? Or diarrhea, purgatives, because they will produce the cause, the toxic cause to be removed. And what is that toxic cause? That toxic cause is materia peccans. So this was the thought, and as a result, when the thought is faulty, you can understand how faulty the treatment is. Don't think that these things do not happen today. These things still happen today, maybe in a more modified way, more systematic way, so that they can hide their bad effect. But these are happening still today. By cutting holes in the diseased body by introduction of foreign substance, they sought to draw out the materia peccans. Hahnemann denies any materia peccan as the primary cause of any true natural disease and defines illness is due to dynamic influence upon the spiritual self-acting vital force. So when he has proved by logic, and through this logic, based on this logic, homeopathy has survived for so long, treated so thousands of patients. So when this is the logic, that there is a dynamic cause, the whole effort to try to find this material cause is wasted. Causa morbi, cause of disease. Apparently it is for disease there has to be cause. But these terms are not the problem. I will repeat again. The thought behind these terms are the problem. The way the people used to think, what the people used to think, that was the problem. It remained unknown till Hahnemann distinctly named various causes for various disease conditions. There is another term, causa morborum chronicorum, non-venereal. Cause of chronic disease, non-venereal. As you can understand from the name, the cause of chronic disease. Which type of chronic disease? Non-venereal. So what is the non-venereal cause of chronic disease? The psora. Remain unknown till Hahnemann found it in the word psoric miasm. He says, therefore, in chronic miasm, I call it psora, to give it a general name. Then there is a concept of exciting cause. We have to understand what is exciting cause, number one. What role does it play in selection of medicine and in treatment and cure of the person? Hahnemann has said in aphorism 5 that when treating a chronic acute disease, we have to find the most probable exciting cause. Now, there are two things, one we have to understand. What is exciting cause, number one, and number two, when Hahnemann was so specific about everything, why he is using the word most probable? Exciting cause is nothing else but, as the name suggests, which excites the disease condition. When I am saying, please think a bit deeply, it is not causing, it is exciting. So it is not causing a disease, it is exciting a disease condition. So when it is exciting a disease condition, that means the disease condition is already there. maybe not in an excited state. So what this has done, this has excited the condition. So this excited condition has produced a kind of special kind of disease which is called acute disease. And why it is called probable? Because we can never be sure 100% that this is the cause in this particular disease. When a person comes and tells the doctor, my son had fever. Now he is having fever, very high grade of fever, 104 fever. What happened? Doctor, yesterday he had a haircut. And no, while having haircut, he was crying. So after haircut, I gave him an ice cream. And then when he came, naturally, when you have a haircut, in order to remove the small hair that remains, one has to take bath extra carefully. So the mother was very careful and gave her a special bath, bathing. After that, the boy was playing in the evening and came back home late than usual. In open air, he was playing. Now the fever can be caused by haircut, the ice cream, taking bath, or playing in the field in evening in open air. Because these are causing problem to others. So many people who are affected by these. There are persons who they get fever when playing in evening or getting the evening air, cold air. There are persons or child who get affected when they take bath for long. So we cannot know that what is the problem in this particular case. We can only assume that this boy is playing daily. So playing may not be the cause. More or less, he is taking bath daily. He very often takes ice cream. So haircut may be the cause. So to be honest, you cannot say that haircut is only cause. You have to say most probable cause. That is why Hahnemann has used the word probable exciting cause. So defines as the cause that excites and brings about the acute suffering in a chronic case. Many a time, that is why acute diseases are so easy to treat. Because one can very clearly say that this was the condition after that, this was the cause, I had a haircut, I had played, or I eaten this, after that I am suffering. Exciting cause cannot trouble the patient unless the person is affected with the fundamental cause. That is why I said the excited condition has been produced. So there was a condition, a latent condition, which has been excited by exciting cause and produced the acute exacerbation of the latent sora called acute disease. So acute diseases are nothing but the temporary explosion, transient explosion of the latent sora. And who has caused this explosion? The exciting cause. There are various types of exciting causes. See, in homeopathic classification of these, there has been different bases for classification. Sometimes it is the duration, sometimes it is the number of people, sometimes it is the location, sometimes it is the manifestation. For example, acute diseases and types of acute diseases. The types of acute diseases, individual, sporadic, and epidemic. Now, what is the basis for one to call this is individual, this is sporadic, or this is epidemic? The number of people who are affected. If it is one, then individual. If it is few, then sporadic. Then if it is used, then it is epidemic. And along with it, the type of cause that is affected. Naturally, what can affect a huge number of people may not be very effective when affecting an individual person. But if you mix it all, then these are the causes of exciting cause. Excess in food. If a person has eaten too much, any particular food, if you remember your argentum nitricum, the person is fond of sugar. Many of us are fond of sugar. But just being fond of sugar is not enough. The person has to eat sugar like he's crazy for it. And that is why it is called craving. And when he eats, that produces undesirable effect. So that undesirable effect, the acute disease, is caused by excess of food, especially sugar, like natramine, sugar, salt. There are so many. Or insufficient supply of it. Malnutrition. Severe physical impression like chills, overheating, dissipation, strain, physical irritation, mental emotion, etc. So all these things which a usual, normal, healthy person can, he tolerates it, overcomes it in his daily life. But when that becomes more, when that becomes something which is causing this problem, then the cause is exciting cause and the result that is produced is the acute disease. So we select medicine, especially for acute disease, and selection becomes much easier if we get to know what is the exciting cause. If it is a northwesterly wind, we have a medicine. Northeasterly wind, we have a medicine. Wet air, we have a medicine. Rainy season, we have a medicine. Winter of melting snow, we have a medicine. When snow is falling, we have another medicine. So these are the selection of medicine becomes much easier if we get to know the acute, exciting cause. But if you remember your organ, then aphorism 7, the aphorism 7 starts with, you have to remove first the causa occasionalis. You will come to that. What is causa occasionalis? The maintaining and exciting cause. A person, suppose that person about which we were talking a bit earlier, the child, that child is having a fever. So the first thing you should do is you should remove the exciting cause and maintaining cause if there is any. So if haircut or cold or ice cream is the cause, the first thing we have to do is that we have to ask the parent not to give him ice cream or whatever is the exciting cause. So selection of remedy, and also, as I was just giving the illustration, for prevention of disease. For prevention of disease, it is important that we should identify. By identifying, see the slide, by identifying the exciting cause that causes the disease in the patient, physician can advise the patient to protect himself from exposure to such an exciting cause. Now, the Hahnemann, in medicine of experience, we all know the precursor of organon. Before the organon was produced, there was a book published which was called Medicine of Experience, which later on was modified in Organon of Medicine in 1810. So in Medicine of Experience, and later on in first edition, and second edition, and third edition, but it was then third edition onward, in fourth and fifth it was removed, and sixth it was removed. We find a wonderful long list of exciting causes. So it may not be sixth, fifth, it may not be there in fifth and sixth edition, but I have just I'm sharing it with you to get you to know what was the Hahnemann's thought at that time and how useful these are still today. Here, these are from, as I have said, from Medicine of Experience and Organon, first, second, and third edition. Is in this deficiency of pure open air, too great heat or cold. Atmosphere, difference in it at pressure, humidity, dryness. Climate, light, weather, geographical situation, pollution, All these are written long time back when pollution may not have been such a big problem as we understand today, environmental pollution. But here the meaning was different. The dust and various kinds arising from it, occupation, rooms, defect or excess of warmth in the room, cleanliness, clothing, food and drink, careless preparation, decomposition, falsification, adulteration, underdone animal and vital viands, items dealt in spoilt way, flour adulterated with gypsum or sand, corns mixed with injurious seeds, irregularities in the period of meals, then sleep, lack of or over, rest, exercise too violent or lack of exercise, exertion, domestic life, unhealthy passions, emotions, sex, guilt, polytheism. All these Hahnemann has discussed in detail, and we can understand just by knowing the society that everything has some role to play the how a person is built up. And everything, the excess, suppose the emotion, fear can cause a problem. That problem can be mental or as well as physical, fright, vexation. So all these things have some role to play. Hahnemann has enlisted these as the exciting cause. Most important aspect of this concept of causation, the fundamental cause. Hahnemann at one point of time, when homeopathy was discovered, people were practicing, his followers were practicing, he himself was practicing, and then after a certain time, Hahnemann observed that I am treating a disease and same disease is again coming back. So does it mean that I am not able to cure it permanently, or there is something wrong? So he started analyzing his cases because he had case record. Every patient that he has seen was properly recorded. So he started analyzing his case record and also asked his followers and close associates that are you also facing the same problem? To his surprise, most of them said yes. I am treating a person with cough and cold, he's getting well, but after some time the same person is again coming back with cough and cold. So there has to be some problem. And when he was working on this, doing research, analyzing, and he did it for 12 years, then he came to this conclusion that there is a separate thing which I have overlooked, and that is called a special class of disease called chronic disease, a special type of cause called fundamental cause, the miasm. And this gave rise to this theory of chronic disease, that this cough and cold that I have been treating is not the tendency cause of chronic disease. The real fundamental cause of the disease is miasm. Miasms are the fundamental cause. Miasms are dynamic, morbific forces that pollute the human organism, leading to unhealthy tendencies and different diseases. As we all know that miasm is derived from a Greek word, miasmine, and a Latin word, miasma. Miasma also have a similar meaning, pollution or stigma. It has been used in literature in this sense. Miasm, it has been found that it carries from one generation to another. And that is why we sometimes take history of the forefathers, family, father, mother, etc. Miasm can be acquired. It develops susceptibility to disease various conditions. Apparently, many of us are healthy, apparently healthy. Unless we claim ourselves to be miasm free, we are not perfectly healthy, but we are apparently healthy. When we are apparently healthy, that means that we are having a latent miasm. We are having latent miasm which is manifesting itself through very subtle susceptibilities, tendencies, which is manifesting by sometimes acute phases. So miasmatic expressions vary from person to person. Therefore, individualistic approach is employed to remove them. Anti-miasmatic remedies are the only way to treat permanently. In the same aphorism 5, where he was talking about acute disease, he has also talked about chronic disease. And there he has said that useful to the physician in assisting him to cure are the particulars of the most significant point in the whole history of chronic disease. That is why we take the patient's history in such detail, because we do not know where we will find the most significant points. It's not singular, plural, points. And we, through these case taking, we are trying to find out these significant points. And we know what are those points because we have studied chronic disease. We have studied the manifestation of miasms. So by identifying these manifestations, we will be able to say, okay, so these are the symptoms, significant points, and that is why the person is psoric, psychotic, or syphilitic, or a combination of two or three. So once more, we are trying to find the most significant point in the whole history of chronic disease to enable him to discover its fundamental cause, which is generally due to a in 72, these are termed chronic disease, and they are caused by dynamic infection with a chronic miasm. Now, you have to understand here the word dynamic infection has a different meaning. We'll discuss it some other time, but for now, just understand this. This is not usual, the infection that we talk of. In 78, the true natural chronic diseases are those that arise from a chronic miasm. Well, there are two types of miasm, acute and chronic. About acute miasm, Dr. Kent has said, acute miasm is that which comes from upon the economy, passes through its peculiar prodromal period, longer or shorter, and has its period of progress and period of decline, and in which there is a tendency to recovery. Acute miasm produces acute disease that has sudden and definite onset, period of progress, and end into death or recovery. There are two types of acute miasm, recurrent, as the name suggests, they are causing diseases which are recurring in nature like plague, asiatic cholera, etc., and non-recurring or fixed miasm. They do not recur, they are fixed in nature, like smallpox, whooping cough, which occurs only once in life. Then we have the chronic miasm, which are of three types, psora, syphilis, and psychosis. The basic things we all know, that psora is the commonest of all. 7/8 of all the diseases are caused by psora. And if we consider as the venereal miasm, then we see that there are two which are considered to be venereal, syphilis and psychosis. And therefore, the non-venereal is the psora. I'm not going in details about the symptomatology that is produced or effect that the psora, syphilis, or psychosis produce. My idea is just to give a basic guideline about the concept of causation as a whole in homeopathy. And we cannot complete our discussion unless we discuss a very important aspect which is required for understanding miasm, chronic disease, and fundamental cause, that is accessory circumstances. And what is this? Again in aphorism 5. Accessory circumstances are those factors which may not be directly responsible for cause of disease, but they are responsible for the way in which the person is affected, the way in which the symptoms are manifested. For example, you take any one of it. age. Age is not responsible for manifestation of a disease. But age is responsible for the way it is manifested. The way, for example, passing urine in bed. If this is a symptom, and I tell you that this is a symptom of a patient whose age is 2 months. You laugh, for a 2-month baby, where should he pass urine? In the bed only. But then again, I tell you the age is 5 years. Okay, that should not happen, but not so out of the world. But then I tell you the age is 20 years. The whole meaning changes. Then I tell you the age is 90 years. So this one symptom, passing urine in the bed, and the whole understanding of this symptom is changed with the age. So these are the factors which are accessory circumstances, which changes the meaning of the symptom. They are not responsible for the cause. What are those accessory circumstances? The physical constitution of the patient. How the person is built up physically. And when we use the word in constitution in homeopathy, that always includes the mental makeup of the patient. Usually the constitution means physical makeup of the body. But in homeopathy, whenever the constitution word is used, it includes the mental makeup. So what is the constitution of the person? His moral and intellectual character. The mentality, the development of his intellect, the various faculties, his occupation. See, occupation, many a times while case taking, I have seen my students or other students also writing when we are talking of occupation, service or farmer, like this. We are not income tax people. This information not enough for us, for a homeopathic doctor when you write service. Because a person who is working as in a place where he has to stand and move around continuously, he is also in service. That person is also in service, his occupation. If you ask, he will write service. A person who is working in Siachen day and night, that person is also in service. When a person is working in the farm for 8 hours or 9 hours, that person is your farmer. A person who is making them work and paying them, and he is the person whose farm they are tilling, that person also writes himself as a farmer. We are not interested in that. We are interested in how that person is occupying. What is his occupation? What he does. That is important. Because that will modify the way the symptoms are manifested. So occupation, mode of living and habit. What are his habits? Where he is living, how he is living, what he is doing, his social and domestic relations, his age, and sexual function. All this has to be understood clearly in every case. Then only we can understand in true sense the fundamental cause, the way the fundamental cause is going to manifest. There are 2-3 more times as far as miasm is concerned. There is half spiritual miasm. In the book Chronic Disease, Hahnemann says that miasm is measles, scarlet fever, pox, called half spiritual miasm, because after completing their parasitical existence in system for some period, they die out, leaving the organism to recover soon. If the patient does not die by the time, the peculiar characteristics of this is after they have penetrated the vital force in first movement of the contagion, they produce the disease in their own way. Then there is a half acute miasm. The miasm hydrophobia is termed as half acute. It takes effect the moment a person gets bitten by a mad dog, a rabid dog. The poison of this miasm gets communicated to the nearest nerves after being bitten. And as soon as the malady develops inside the organism, the madness breaks out as acute and quickly fatal disease. There is another type of cause, the maintaining cause. As the name suggests, they are not causing the disease. They are maintaining the disease and disease condition. And that is why the effect that it is produced is not exactly a disease, but a disease-like condition. So in aphorism 7 and 77, when a person is exposed to avoidable noxious influence, then the condition that is produced is called pseudochronic disease, or a condition which is not exactly a chronic disease. This, when removed, leaves the person in good health. If that factor, the cause which is causing that condition, if it is removed, the maintaining cause, then the person may come back to a healthy state, provided there is no miasm involved. If the miasm is involved, then in spite of removing the maintaining cause, the person will not come back to his normal healthy condition. It produces, maintains, and prolongs the disease condition. It can be one of the obstacles to cure. Inappropriately named chronic disease. The ideal Hahnemann's term is inappropriately named chronic disease. To achieve cure, these should be removed from the patient. That is the first thing one should do. You have to remove it. Unless and until you remove it, you cannot go further. Before starting the treatment, if you have to identify if there is any factor which is maintaining the disease condition. And if that is identified, that needs to be removed. Some more examples: avoidable noxious influence, habit of indulging in injurious liquor, aliments, abstinence from things which are necessary for support of life, unhealthy residence, deprive of exercise or open air, overexertion of body and mind, and all the occupational hazards. Whatever, if there is any problem which is caused because of your occupation, of the place where you are living, then all these are coming under the factors which are maintaining the disease. So before starting the treatment, you have to remove it. A person is suffering from spondylitis, and he is a data entry operator. He has to work long hours, hunched on computer like this. In spite of the best medication, you cannot cure him. You cannot give him relief unless you give him some painkiller. That will only give relief. Why? Because that cause, that factor which is maintaining, that is there. The first thing removed is you have to remove them. If once you remove that, because here the way the person is sitting, the way the person is working, that is responsible. So that has to be removed. Similarly goes for any unhealthy food. If a person is suffering from some gastric trouble and the person is in the habit of constantly taking very rich and spicy food, before starting the treatment, the first thing required is one should stop this spicy food. Then only the person will get well. Where there is a concept of Stuart Close, the law of causation, he says that no internal effect can arise without an external cause, and that the effect itself may in turn become a cause of further changes. Living organism may be affected upon by three ways: mechanical, chemical, and dynamic. Mechanical, he has given examples: trauma, congenital absence or defective organ, collapse or displaced organ. Then there is a chemical or physiological antidote, which is followed by homeopathic treatment for functional disease. Or dynamic, all intangible medicinal toxic agent and influences which primarily disturb vital function of mind and body. So, in short, this is the concept of causation in homeopathy. In acute disease, you have to find out what is the exciting cause. You have to find out if there is any maintaining cause which is acting as an obstacle to cure, and you have to remove it before starting the treatment. In chronic disease, you have to find out in the whole history of the patient the most significant point which will point to the fundamental cause, and based on that, you have to start a treatment anti-miasmatic to remove that fundamental cause. For now, this is all that is to be shared. We hope, I'm sure we will meet again and discuss some other topics next time. For now, thank you very much once more, the management of Parul University and all the dignitaries and faculty members, Dr. Purav Desai, Dr. Hina, all who are here. My good wishes to them, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. It was a very, very comprehensive understanding of the most interesting part of organon, that is the causes of disease. The way you have explained the two fallacies which are prevalent in organon, that is prima causa morbi and tolli causam, which is many a times misinterpreted not only by the students of homeopathy but even by the teachers of homeopathy. So it was very interesting to hear it from the master himself, explaining in a very, very simple way the exciting cause, the causa occasionalis, the maintaining cause, and of course the fundamental cause, and the concept of miasms. So it was a great learning experience for all of us and all the viewers. As we have, thank you very much, sir. Sir, as it is well known that challenges should make us better and not bitter. Adopting the same motto, we have tried to accept more and more challenges and become more adaptable. The result is that along with regular curriculum, we can conduct this series of webinars. But this is possible due to eminent personalities of our fraternity like you yourself, sir, who, in spite of holding the highest and highly responsible post in the premier National Institute of Homeopathy, has spared your valuable time for us. Sir, I have always admired that though you are at the epicenter of a hurricane of administrative liabilities, the teacher in you is always willing to impart knowledge whenever called upon. I appreciate your this capacity and this willingness to teach the fraternity at large. Once again, sir, I thank you for your brilliant presentation. Thanks is not just a word, but it is a gesture from the bottom of our heart, sir. Thank you so much. I also take this opportunity to express my gratitude to the leaders of Parul University who are constantly motivating and supporting us and to provide us with this platform. Sir, I also thank you for your condolence message for Dr. J.K. Patel, sir. It is so touching that you have thought you are there with us in this difficult time also. I also take this opportunity to thank Mr. Brijesh Acharya, who is and his technical team for this flawless conduction of the webinar. I'm thankful to the core member of our teams, that is the four principals of the four homeopathic colleges of Parul University, Dr. Purav sir, Dr. Panda sir, and Dr. Hitat Mehta sir, who are always there in all such activities. I'm also thankful to all the viewers, the faculties of Parul University, our faculty members who are always there to encourage us to do more and more and to do better every time. My heartfelt gratitude once again, sir. I hope you'll join us very soon for another webinar also. Thank you so much, sir. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So we can now leave the meeting.
Yeah.
Mm.